Right, evening everyone. So I'm going to do a service on my Ford Kuga tonight. This is the cheap car that I bought that was knackered. It needed a new rear diff. And then I found loads of other stuff wrong with it, like wheel bearings, drive shafts. There was no coolant in it because the EGR valve had been leaking and someone had tried to bodge it. So now that I know it's mechanically sound, I just want to give it a bit of TLC, so I'm going to give it a service tonight. I'm going to change the pollen filter, oil filter, air filter. I've got a fuel filter, and then I've got engine oil and whatever. I'm also going to have a look at an issue with the headlight leveling on it. So it has xenon headlights and they have to be self-leveling. The leveling is done by a little sensor with a bar that bolts onto the body of the car. That bar then bolts onto the wishbone, and as you sit in the car, I suppose it sort of compensates for how many people you've got in the car. So the headlights will automatically adjust and not dazzle people. Be easier to show you when I take the wheel off what I mean, because I'm terrible at explaining stuff. So I'll split the video into a few parts, and I'll probably post some of them separate so you can filter it by air filter, pollen filter, oil filter, whatever. And then I'll amalgamate all those into one, probably put it on YouTube and then put the link on so you can see the full thing anyway. So I'll end this bit of the video, and I'll probably start with the air filter first. Right, so I'm going to start the service by doing the air filter. The air filter fits inside here. That's the new one there. I'm hoping it's the right one. Looks about the right size. You don't see many round ones on cars these days, but effectively to do this, nice and easy. You'll see this is the top cover. There'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, and then this lid should lift up. What I also recommend doing is when you get that off and the old air filter out, there's probably some leaves and stuff in there that need hoovering out, so make sure you clean inside that as well before you fit the new one. Okay, so it is a 7mm socket on 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. It was a little bit tight to lift off, so I've lifted this off for the video. So it comes out like this, and as you can see, this one, the old one, is quite dirty. It's got bits of leaves and things inside it. So I mentioned about cleaning inside the airbox as well. So this should be clean. So we'll give this a hoover out as well anyway. It's not too bad actually. Sometimes you get them and they're full of leaves and shit. So to change the filter, it effectively just slots. There's like a groove here that lines up with this. There you go, there's bits of hay and stuff in it. So that's obviously stopped all that sort of shit going in your engine, which is good. So I'm going to, the new one will go into that groove like that. But I'm going to clean that out first and clean out in there. Right, so I've hoovered that top cover out. I've hoovered that one. I think it's probably easier to get the air filter on. Excuse one-handed. To get that on there, and then get that sat in that groove. There we are. So you see how that's now sat in there. It's now sat on there properly, and then this bit, the top cover, goes on. There we are. Now these screws, just make sure this top cover sits properly. There we are. So it should sort of sit down flush. There we are. So that looks all right. And then using my trusty Milwaukee 3/8 low torque mode. I don't want to strip any plastic stuff. I'll try and do opposite corners to make sure it comes down even. You don't need a lot. Okay, so that there is the air filter then. I will drain the engine oil now, and while the engine oil's draining, I will do the cabin filter, and I'll show you how I do that. Right, okay, so I've done the air filter. I'm now going to do the oil and the oil filter. I just want to show you the drain plug on these isn't like a normal drain plug that most cars have, where it's like, you know, a 17mm hex head or whatever, and you just screw it out, replace the copper washer and screw a new one in. This sits in the bottom instead, and it's basically like a quarter turn. You'll see it on the bottom of the sump, but there's like an R-clip that stops you from turning it, so you pull the R-clip out, and then this sort of turns quarter of a turn, and then you can gently sort of wiggle that out at the bottom. Just make sure you've got the bucket there ready. I'll show you on here. So that's where it sits. It sort of sits in like that, and then when I put it back on, I'll show you what I mean about the R-clip that pushes in, and it basically stops it from sort of rattling loose. But it's just a rubber O-ring. But what I want to show you when I'm down here as well, I've taken the wheel off. So I've got a problem with the headlight level, the automatic headlight leveling. So if you look here, you can see this is broke. So that and that should be one. So when you sit in the car, the suspension drops or whatever, and that basically moves up and down, and it levels the headlights so that you don't glare and blind anyone. There's one on the back as well that's also broken, so I'll get that swapped as well. I need to clean some of this grease off here as well I put a new drive shaft in, and I think there's a bit of residual grease left getting chucked about, so I need to clean some of this off too. But yes, I need to get this bar off and look at making a new bar or something, or repairing this one somehow. So yeah, the oil filter on this is nice and easy. It's the old spin-off canister type here, and really, you know, I'm not going to teach people to suck eggs on how to change oil, but you know, you drain your oil, change your filter, put your plug back in, and then top the oil up. So that's that really. So I'll get a video of this drain plug when it's back in. Okay, so I'm just going to I've undone the oil filter already because I can't use the tool I was using and film at the same time, but effectively what I use is a chain wrench, or strap spanner, whatever you want to call it. So that just undoes it a little bit, and these literally, as you can see, let me just make sure all that goes in the bucket and not all over my driveway. So I'll come back to that in a minute. I'll let that drain out. And then I'll put the new one in. The new one's there. I'm going to fill the new one with some oil as well, and then put that back on. Right, while the oil is draining, I'll show you how to do the pollen filter on these. So I had to take the glove box out, but I needed both hands to do it. But effectively, there are 5 screws that hold it in place, and a connection for the light for the glove box, which goes in here. So if I open the glove box, you have a screw there, there, and there. And the tool you need for that is a T20 Torx. And then you also have, at the bottom of the glove box, two bits there. And that's these screws here. They screw into that, and then same again on the other side. But these are a T30. So you need a T20 and a T30 to take the glove box out, and then you take this light out as well. Well, the connection for the light rather. And the actual pollen filter itself, I'm hoping you can see, is in behind this cover here. Now, it's really difficult to try and film. There should be a screw in there. There isn't for some reason. But you take that out, you pinch this comes off, and this here is your old pollen filter. So it can be a bit tricky to get out. Just bear with me, try and do it one-handed. So these come out like this. Bit of the wiring loom caught on that one there. And then you basically pull it out. Look, there's a bit of stuff in the way here. Can make getting the new one in tricky. Now when you take it out, don't turn it round or anything, because what you should see, if this has got it, here you go. So it tells you the direction you've got to put the new one in. So the new one should have arrows on. So the arrows should be pointing towards you. So if I have a look on the new one, let's have a look. Yeah. So this one will go in the same way there. It will go in that way. Obviously take the plastic off it first, or it won't work. So yeah, you basically slide that one back in, make sure it's the right way, and then it's the reverse procedure again. Put the glove box back in, 5 screws in total. Don't forget to plug the light back in, and that's that done. And then I can finish off the oil change then. Okay, so my battery's low, so my torch on my camera isn't working. So I've done the pollen filter now. All the oil is drained out of that bit there, where the oil filter goes. I've got the new oil filter here. I've smeared some oil on the rubber seal, and I've also filled the filter itself with oil too. So I'm gonna fit this on now. It just winds on. There we go. I'll torque that up to the proper thing after, but people over tighten these for some reason, but they don't need it. Most of the time hand tight is all right. So I'll clean this up. Gonna let that drip for a little bit. I'll clean that up, I'll get the sump back in, and then I'll show you this weird drain plug when it's back in as well. Right, so I haven't put no oil in yet, but I want to show you this drain plug. So most sumps that you'll see, if you do your own oil changes or whatever, have like just a normal drain plug that you put a spanner on or whatever. You wind it out, you change the copper washer, you put a new one in. This has got like a weird quarter turn valve thing, and then it pulls out. So I showed you the video before of what it looked like when it was out. So that's in, you put it in, you twist it, and you have to make sure you twist it properly, because this little R clip goes in here. If I can get it in with one hand. Oh god, I'm so fiddly. Hang on. Hang on a minute. Wait there. Right, sorry. Last video I was trying to get that pin in to show you, but I was trying to do it one-handed. I had to put the camera down. So effectively that pin there is what holds this sump plug in. So I've deliberately not turned that sump plug all the way to show you this. So what you have to do is make sure you turn that all the way. Okay, so now you can see that pin will slide in the rest of the way. So if I tried to undo it, you have this little bit of plastic here that would stop it from coming undone. So quite clever, quite nice and simple. I managed to take that out with my hand. I could just pull that out, turn that and pull it out. You might find that they're stiff, so in which case you can get a pair of pliers or whatever to undo it and pull it out or whatever, but I managed to get it out by hand. So now what I've got to do is put new oil in, and I'm going to do this headlight level sensor as well. Right then, on the subject of the headlight level bar, there's not really much I can do with it, to be honest, because it was absolutely knackered, and these nuts were seized on, and because it's all plastic, it all sort of fell apart. So I'm going to order a new one and do it properly. What I've had to do for now is the actual lever that operates the sensor. I've just put a zip tie under there to hold it about the halfway, because before this was all the way down, and my headlight beam was way too low, and I leave for work early in the morning, so I couldn't really see where I was going. But if you have it too high, you're going to blind people. So I've put it in the middle there. It won't drop below that because that zip tie is just stopping it from dropping down. So it'll have to be like that for a few days until the new bit comes. Right, so I've done the oil now. It takes around 6 litres on these 2 litre tdci 180 brake models. So I've got the oil at the right level now, so I'm going to start it up. There we go. The only warning I've got left on this car now is my TPMS. The batteries are dead in them, I think. I have got 4 new ones coming. This also needs 4 new tyres soon, so I get the TPMS sensors at the same time. But no, that's it. That's this one done. The only thing I've got left to do really is the fuel filter, which I do on a separate video because there's a bit more to that one. And I need to do the timing belt and water pump, which I've got ready as well. But effectively that was just like a minor service, which included oil filter, cabin filter and the air filter. So I put all those videos together in one, so you can sort of see the whole thing in one go.